All right, so let's finish up with the fringe twisting because I want to show you the next little bit of steps and then we'll move on. So this is what the fringe twist looks like when it's done with two colorways. Let's try doing a solid one. And when I do this for real, oh, and here's my handy T-pin. To undo this, basically, I'm just twisting it back around, and I could actually do this with the fringe twister if I felt like clipping everybody on again. There we go. Okay, so when I do this for realsies, which is to say, on this scarf where the treadling changes after 10 repeats of every AB pattern. There we go. There we go. I would count. I'm going to do this visually at the moment, but if I really want this to be good, I'm going to count. And this is why my scarves are not going to see water yet today, because I've got 6 of these sets of fringe to twist. And you can vary how much or how little you twist, and you'll get different effects. Obviously, the more twist you have, the more frequently the color changes will show up. And the less frequently you twist, the less the color changes will show up. Okay, then I'm just going to tie an overhand knot. And this is the part where the measuring grid comes in really handy. So you want to make sure that you've got everything weighted so it's not going to move around. Okay, and if I put my knot at 3 inches, this is giving me a nice generous fringe. This is really nice. This I think is ideal. 3 inches is usually my go-to. 2 can be a little short. 3 is nice and lengthy. So I'm putting my knot at 3 inches. And then you can see I've still got an inch of untwisted warp below that. So as I do each bundle, each color, I am going to attempt to get the knot in the same place every time. And then I will trim off whatever's left below the knots to an even length. But see, here's the secret about fringe twisting that they don't tell you. They don't want you to know. Big fringe twist doesn't want you hearing this one weird trick. It's the overall length of the fringe that will catch people's eye. It's not where the knot is in relation, unless you're putting the knot here one time and then putting the knot here the next time. And in fact, you can choose to do a shaped fringe. I won't, but I could choose to do an angled fringe that is 2 inches in the middle and slowly slants down. And it wouldn't be that hard to do. And obviously, I'd put the knots at different places for each of those bundles, but then I could just use my magic lip ruler to and my rotary cutter to trim the ends to the shape I want. I'm not going to do that because there's a lot going on in this scarf already, and honestly, it's just too much work. The thought of it exhausts me. But if I'm aiming for an even fringe and my knots are off by even 1/8 of an inch, maybe even 1/4 of an inch, nobody's going to notice as long as the total length is the same. So I've learned to give myself a little grace to not necessarily get this not in the same place identically all the way across, but to get as close as possible without going crazy, and then trim off the ends. The other thing I want to do as I'm working on these scarves is take this opportunity to find places where I had to start a new pern because I'd run out of weft, and just trim those, not completely to the surface of the fabric, because remember, I'm still going to wet finish this, but close, maybe about 1 inch off, because, again, ask me how I know this. When I leave really long tails, 3-4 inches of weft or fringe or whatever, and then wash it, those loose ends get all tangled up in things, and I have ended up pulling hand woven fabric out of the washing machine where a long end has wrapped itself all around the fabric, and that's not good. So this is a moment to trim off some of these crazy ends, uh, close to, but not right on top of the fabric. And then after it comes out of wet finishing, I will press everything because nearly all hand woven fabrics benefit from a good pressing after they've been wet finishing. And then I will trim those ends as close as I can possibly get to the fabric without cutting the fabric. A last note about how I'm going to finish these scarves. I have chosen to ignore the designer's instructions, which are to swish them around, to let them soak in a pan full of, just hand wash them. Soak them in a pan full of lukewarm water for 20 minutes, swish them around a little bit, and then let them air dry. I am instead going to twist the fringe on each scarf after I've cut the scarves apart, and then I'm going to put all three of them into a zip lingerie bag, and I'm going to wash them in the gentle cycle on my washing machine because I actually want a little agitation. I think it's going to help even out some of the spots, especially on this last scarf, where my warp tension had gotten a little funky, and sometimes the beat isn't as even as I would like it to be. So that little bit of machine work, I think, is going to greatly improve the look of these scarves. Oh, and before we close, let me show you, because there's no reason I can't go ahead and cut apart all these scarves. Show you what it's going to look like to cut apart two of the scarves, or to cut off the first scarf. Oh, and here's what I mean. Here's a spot where the beat on the fabric is not perfectly even. I don't know what happened here, but again, a little bit of agitation in the washing machine, gentle cycle, lingerie bag, zip everything up. It could just even out that kind of icky spot on the scarf. All right, so again, I'm going to line up the row of hem stitching just on one of these grid lines, and I'm going to put a weight on it. Oh, and this time, because the both ends of the warp are woven, I'm not having the problem that I had last time where I had to comb them out. I shouldn't have to comb anything out this time around. And again, I want this to be as even as possible. This line of hem stitching, I want it to be as even as possible on my cutting mat. And then I'm going to put my rotary cutter in and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, and there's a little bit extra. So what I want to do is cut it right in the middle of this. And it's worth measuring because even though I put that piece of paper in as a spreader, for lack of a better word, to keep the warp blank, everything was under tension. And you just don't know what's going to happen when something's not under tension. So therefore, I choose to measure one more time. It's that old construction saying of measure twice, cut once, and continuing to try and get everybody even up at the line of the hem stitching, because that is a line that will catch people's eye. It's bold enough that it will catch people's eye. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and a little bit more. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to go about 1/4 of an inch. And now out comes my trusty rotary cutter. It's worth changing your blade or sharpening your blade if you have the tools to do that, which I do, before you do this, just so you don't have to go back twice. And there it is. Woohoo! This is one long and luscious scarf, and the fringe twisting is going to be a slog. It's gonna take a couple of sessions, and I'm probably going to want to set things up so that I don't have to be standing the whole time, because I know from sad experience that tense up my back and I'll hunch my shoulders, and it just won't be very comfortable and it'll make my feet sore. So if I can do this sitting down, that's ideal. But invest in, if you don't already have these, one of these lipped rulers that hooks on the edge of your cutting mat. You don't even need a big cutting mat. I've got honking big ones for cutting out clothing, but you don't need a big one. And get a rotary cutter and find some kind of weight. It would actually be better if this little bin I had were the full width of my cutting thing. Oh, and make sure that everything you're trying to cut fits within the width of your cutting mat, because it's really bad otherwise. So I will post some pictures or something of these scarves when they're completely done before I give them away. But thank you for coming along with me for this journey. This has been such a great and fun and simple yet effective project. Weaving does not have to be super complicated to produce great results. In fact, you can often get the best fabric from what seems like the simplest design. Here, the colors and the treadling are doing all the work, and they're doing it really well. So I'm really pleased with how this has turned out.